What is up, everybody? Adam here with HIITCAST. And today we're going over fitness trends of 2018. And this is a super hot topic.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, but before we start, I want to introduce my counterpart here. This is Dr. Trevor Binion, and he is not the kind of doctor that can write you a fun prescription and get you high on the weekends. He is a doctor in exercise physiology and has done a ton of research in fat metabolism, and that is his thing. That's what he knows.
That's my thing.
So much about is fat metabolism, how it works in the body. He happens to be a doctor because of it.
Yeah, dudes. And this is Adam, Colorado strongman champion, owner of the strongest gym in Northern Colorado.
That's right. Hitbox. So we're going to go over a couple things today.
That's right.
And I think the first one we're going to go over is just a few announcements that we have.
Yeah, we got some things to report on.
Yeah.
We've been busy.
Yeah, going on. So I'll let you go ahead and start.
Well, lately here at Hitbox, there have been some things that have been real noteworthy. And so you had a promotion going on. Tell us about Hit for Hooters, and that just wrapped up. So how did that go?
Yeah, so I did Hit for Hooters. It is Hitbox's version of like barbell for boobs, that sort of thing. And we do it for breast cancer awareness. Instead of donating to a big a big entity for it, which I think there's great things in doing that. They do a lot of research. A lot of big improvements in medicine are made because of that. We decided to find a local family here in the community that somebody was going through breast cancer. And we did a massive, we pulled the community together, and we were able to come up with a large amount of funds for the community. So we raised over $2,000 for this lady. I had the chance to go on KBPI with Willie B and hang out and talk about it, which was super fun. Willie B is an awesome guy. Gave me a ton of free tickets for local concerts.
Cool.
To give away and raffle out. Yeah, so Willie B was super supportive. So shout out to Willie B. You're an amazing dude. Thank you for having a big heart. But yeah, that was cool. We raised a lot of money for her and hopefully kind of changed her life a little bit and brought some sunshine to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, rock on.
Yep. What about for you? For
me, I can't think of anything significant to report on. Just things have been growing. Things have been going well for Fit and Fizz. So same old. Things are good.
Just crushing it.
Just crushing it. I love it.
Yeah. Just crushing.
Little Liz and I are tearing it up.
Awesome. I love it.
Now you've got something else coming up as well.
I do.
Something huge.
Here in 7 days. Yeah, a week. I'm exactly a week out from Nationals. So that's a big deal.
Yeah. And Nationals of what for our listeners who aren't?
So I'm a competitive strongman, and I made it to Nationals this year, which is in Vegas, and so I compete in the 231 and under weight class, and so I'll be competing there on November 10th and 11th in Vegas. So yeah, that's pretty cool. There's, I want to say 40 or 50 people in my class. So it should be a big class. It should be fun. Kind of see where I stand in the big pond.
In the national rankings.
Yeah, big fish in a big pond. So that'd be cool. Yeah.
Have you? So is this your first time competing at the national level?
No, it's I've made it to nationals 3 times.
Wow.
This is my 3rd time that I'll be going. Last year I got a bid to nationals. I wasn't able to go. And then 2 years prior to that, I had a bid to nationals in a higher weight class, in the 265 weight class. And I did decent. I fell middle of the pack. I did all right, but there's some strong guys out there. There's some really strong guys out there. So it was a good getting my feet wet.
Now, do you know like what sort of events you're going to be competing in, or is it like a mystery? Like you get there, you show up, and then they're like, do this?
No. We have our events. We know our events. We know the weight we're going to be utilizing so we can train for it. And I think they do that because the weights for some of these are just so heavy that if you just showed up assuming what the weights or what the events were, risk of injury could be pretty high. So
that's good. So you know what you're getting yourself into.
I know what I'm getting myself into. I've done all my lifting. So at this point, it's now rest, eat, sleep well, recover as much as possible, and I got a few pounds in water I have to drop over the next week, but I'm good.
Smooth sailing.
Smooth sailing.
Dude, all right, I got another question. Do your competitors, do you know who you're competing against?
I know a couple. Because I've seen him around. I know there's one I'm going against. Really awesome dude. His name's Anthony. He trains down at Iron Warrior. Super awesome, nice guy. Really cool guy. I competed against him. He competed as a heavyweight though at the one in at the Colorado State Championship. But I mean, most of the guys are just really awesome, really nice guys. So it's cool.
I'm wondering, like, do they, like, on social media, do they post their like how they're training and like what their PRs are?
Yeah, we're always all posting our training. I think it's a way to like, look what I'm doing. You should be scared. And I think there's a bit of that altogether. You don't know how strong somebody's going to come in. You don't know how strong you're going to go in, and especially when you're trying to drop water and drop weight.
Yeah.
And so there's always a little bit of that, like trying to create a little bit of an intimidation factor, sort of like, oh my gosh, this guy's hitting 5 reps at this, and I've only hit 3, and that's in training, and just psychological warfare, I guess.
I wonder then if you're like able to follow some of the dudes that you're going to be competing against in a little bit, and if you know like, whoa, I'm going to totally go in and crush this. You know,
for me, I used to do that, but it took the fun out of it for me.
Gotcha.
I always tell people, I never put on my chucks to lose.
Yeah.
I'd love to go out there. I'd love to take first. But if I go out there and I PR every event, that's the best I can do. And if I go out there and I PR every event and if I land in first because of that, more power to me. But the goal is to go out there and PR in every event, when I say my absolute best, not do my absolute best that day, but my best of all time in that event with those weights.
Yeah.
And you really can't ask for more than to PR.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you walk away unhappy. You're never satisfied with what you did. You never feel okay with it. So.
Well, dude, speaking of like posting PRs on social media for fun and just like the psychological warfare, let me know and we can like Photoshop you like
with some enormous. There's no way he did that. Yeah.
This is like right before competition.
1,000-pound overhead press. He sure did for 4.
Yeah.
All
right. Cool.
We'll do that.
Cool, dude. Anything else to report or?
That's it, man. Just hoping for the best, hoping injury free, hoping for a good water cut, and yeah, that's it.
Sweet. All right, so HIITCAST listeners, send Adam your vibes for success and
prayers and vibes, baby.
Yep,
need them.
All right, guys. So now we are excited to introduce a new segment to our weekly podcast.
I love this
HIITCAST. This segment is aptly titled Bro Science Bullshit.
Bro Science Bullshit.
So this happened the other day. I'm on Facebook. So Bro Science Bullshit. This is where we will find social media posts on Facebook, Instagram.
God, wherever we can find it.
Yeah. And as soon as we catch something that just seems like too bro science-y, we're going to bring it up to you guys, and we're going to dissect it and debunk it.
Yep. And so what we want you guys to do is if you guys come across something on Facebook, tag us in it so we can look at it, because our goal is a lot of people are creating these videos and they're making them sound very sciencey and very believable and making a lot of money on it. And the fact of the matter is it's just not true. It's not. There's no truth to it. I mean, there's some. It's like they're taking bits and pieces and creating their own truth that seems believable. And so we want to shut these guys down. You shouldn't be making money on falsehood.
Right.
You shouldn't.
So this is one that caught my eye earlier this week, and I saved it. I pinned it on Facebook.
They're not gonna be able to see it though.
Right. If you guys watch the podcast, then I'll do an overlay of this guy's video.
Essentially, what it is, it's saying cardio makes you fat.
Yeah, this is a video, and it is by Blue Star Nutraceuticals.
Nutraceutical.
So giving these dudes a shout out.
That's already a stupid name. It is what it is. Nutraceutical. It's like a pharmaceutical food.
Right.
That's not even that. Okay, so that alone. Let's just talk about bro science shit. Like that alone. That's not a real thing. You're just making shit up now. Like, at what point are you prescribed a food?
Right.
Excuse me. I'm not going to give you a corticosteroids. I'm going to give you a nutraceutical, and it's honey. And you're going to be like, that makes no damn sense. Mm-hmm. I hope this guy stubs his pinky toe before he goes to bed. That's stupid. All right, it's like 30 seconds long.
We'll just do the first little bit.
Cardio makes you fat. There, I said it.
All right, I feel
Cardio makes you fat.
Kind of
He
want to
said
pause
it.
there. Yeah, he said it.
There.
So much about. I mean, already we could just kind of stop there and just like have the whole episode, this whole podcast, like about that statement. But this dude is bold enough to explain this. So he goes on to explain this bold statement, and here we go.
Research shows that performing long periods of cardiovascular exercise increases cortisol levels, and in turn, decreases your number one master fat-burning hormone, norepinephrine.
All right, pause again. So just to summarize, to recap, he's stating that cortisol is a fat burning or a fat gaining, a fat promoting hormone.
Mm-hmm.
That running causes an increase in cortisol
and lowers norepinephrine.
And then he also claims norepinephrine is our body's number one
fat burning. Number one.
Yeah. So far, we're making a tally of the claims here.
Which makes burning fat and keeping it off for good next to impossible. With over 12,000 hours of one-on-one coaching to men just like you, I know what it takes to get ripped. That's why I want to share a quick video I've made for you, where I reveal 3 simple but powerful fat-burning strategies that will crank up your metabolic rate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of extra effort or exercise. Just scroll down and watch this free video presentation while you still can. Enjoy.
All right.
Here's my biggest beef with this so far. So one, the claims. So it's not my biggest beef, but it's a pretty big beef. I want to know why if he knows it, and he's so why are none of those videos of him?
Yeah.
He looks like a runner to me. Runners and say how it doesn't do good, and then you look like you run 5Ks every weekend. Like that makes no sense.
So, man, yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
There's
it's kind
so
of just
much
like,
wrong.
Where do I begin? So we'll start from the top. Running. What are your thoughts on the claim running makes you fat?
Running doesn't make you fat. I mean, running, running, anything where any kind of exercise followed by the wrong nutrition to support it could technically make you fat.
Yeah, but it's not running then that's making it. If you're saying it's the nutrition followed up by the exercise.
My point to it is just that, yeah, it's not running. Like if I worked out 4 hours a day doing strictly weights and HIIT training,
yeah,
and I followed it with 12 cheeseburgers from McDonald's, like technically they could follow that and go, HIIT training makes you fat. Like
right.
Like running on its own doesn't do that. Running on its own doesn't. The claims he made about the like we had looked up the norepinephrine, it's lowering testosterone, it's doing things like those don't hold true to just running alone. And on top of that, your body doesn't look at it and go, "Uh-oh, Adam's on a treadmill running. We better up this cortisol level." Like it's very hidden what he's saying, because running is the act of something.
Yeah.
Your body would respond the same way if you were running at a certain heart rate, and if you were swimming at that heart rate, or if you were hiking at this heart rate, or if you were, you know what I mean? Like you're working the cardiovascular zone. You know what I mean? Like it's same technically.
I just
he's really just riding on the trend of
the anti-running.
The anti-running, lift more because there's some crazy new science to it, and then making money off of it is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And that alone is a fitness trend.
To me, the claim, and it literally says on the text below on this video, it says cardio makes you fat.
Big, bold letters.
Cardio is not that. I mean, that's just it's not. So that's my response.
Here would be mine. Like if you've ever watched the Olympics and you've ever watched people that run like the 1800 meter plus, have you ever seen an overweight person there?
Right. Yeah.
The only people that compete in there are people from like third world countries. Like they're tiny. They're jockeys.
Yeah, the elite level like marathoners and stuff, like
these guys would be 400 pounds if that was true.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that just is like so bogus about this. So running is physical activity. You are expending calories. So anything that is like burning calories is like opposing his statement. All right, so let's go into this though, because so like fundamentally, does cardio make you fat? No.
No.
Now let's explain why, because he justifies why. He says cardio makes you fat because cardio
increases cortisol.
It causes the body to release cortisol.
So let's talk about cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone.
Yeah, I challenge this guy to answer what is cortisol? What does it do? So I have here a list of the roles of cortisol. So cortisol is the major glucocorticoid of the adrenal cortex. It affects glucose, protein, and free fatty acid metabolism in 6 ways. 1, it promotes the breakdown of protein to amino acids in all cells except the liver. The circulation delivers these liberated amino acids to the liver for synthesis to glucose via gluconeogenesis. So in other words, it breaks down amino acids towards the promotion of new glucose molecules. Number 2, it serves as an insulin antagonist by inhibiting cellular glucose uptake and oxidation. So it's going to tell our body to stop taking up glucose. Number 3, it suppresses immune system function. Do you know why? Immune system function requires glucose. So anything that is consuming glucose, cortisol is saying stop. Number 4, produces negative calcium balance. Number 5, promotes triacylglycerol or triglyceride, but triacylglycerol is the more accurate term. Triacylglycerol breakdown in adipose tissue to glycerol and fatty acids. And it does that because it needs that glycerol backbone. It uses all those components for gluconeogenesis. And number 6, supports action of other hormones, primarily glucagon and growth hormone, in the gluconeogenic process. So
sum that up.
To sum that up, cortisol is telling the body to stop using glucose, and it's also telling the body it's initiating processes that help to build new glucose molecules. So why is it doing that? Because cortisol's number 1 role is to divert all available glucose to the brain during low glucose moments. When your body's in a situation of low blood glucose or low glycogen storage, it's going to divert all available glucose to the brain for survival.
Because that's your body's main function, is like keep your brain alive.
Yeah, and your brain relies on a steady stream of glucose from the blood. So if those glucose levels get low, cortisol comes to the rescue.
So when you work out too hard and you're out of glucose, you're out of blood glucose, and you're laying on the floor and you're like, oh my gosh, like
cortisol's going to be high.
Your cortisol is going high, but it's because your body is taking it from everywhere else. Basically, think almost like eyeballs down are now not getting the support of glucose anymore, because it all has to go up to keep this functioning. Because as long as this functions, the rest of this can probably come back. Like if this stops functioning, this is all done. You're done. Yeah. So it all has to come up here to keep that alive, because your body doesn't know you're running, you're jumping, you're having a good time, you're trying to get fit, or hey, you have no blood sugars, you're foraging for food, and you're going to die soon. Like your body doesn't know those things. Same.
So cortisol is doing a lot of things. It also has a couple other roles. So the primary role, like I said, is to divert available glucose to the brain, but it's also an anti-inflammatory hormone. It's a stress hormone. So it's doing a lot of different things. It has a lot of different roles. And cortisol certainly can contribute towards the increase in stored body fat. But that is not the number 1 role of cortisol, and it's not automatically what cortisol is going to do. And so if cortisol levels are high, that doesn't necessarily mean that whatever caused that cortisol to be high, like exercise, is causing fat gain. So for so many reasons, that correlation that this guy's trying to connect the dots. He's trying to say cardio increases cortisol, therefore cardio makes you fat. That is a bogus connection.
My statement back is, sitting at work and your boss bitching at you for 4 hours that day also raises your cortisol levels.
Yep.
So stop doing that. Your kids running around and being total jerks all day long, that'll raise your cortisol level. So don't do that. There's a lot. I mean, somebody cutting you off in traffic will raise your cortisol levels the same way.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty bold and blanket statement of saying like this, running on a treadmill or running in general, this is what does it, and this isn't. When your body gets stressed out, if I did 50 deadlifts in a row right now, I can get my cortisol levels to shoot up just as high as if you went on a hard run.
Yeah. So cortisol is going to react to our exercise because it's reacting to the decrease in glucose. We are using glucose as fuel during exercise, and as we use it, then our levels decrease and cortisol will increase.
Now, when cortisol increases, cortisol feeds off of blood sugars too, correct?
What do you mean?
So as blood sugars go down, cortisol levels go up because we're getting stressed out, and the more stressed out we are, I don't know if I want to say feed on them. I don't know if that's the right word, but the response
will
it gets worse because it just keeps getting lower, and it keeps increasing more and more cortisol levels. So it's almost like a little rat race that's happening in your body because you're stressing out more and more and more and more.
And yeah, like that may be happening in people that are experiencing this increase in cortisol. But there's something else. Like there's so much more to it than just that. Like for so long, cortisol is identified and categorized as a catabolic hormone because of what it can do to our muscle in order to create or facilitate the creation of new glucose. But it's so much more than that. Like I said, its primary role is to divert glucose to the brain. And let me pull this up here. So I've got this. This is my probably one of my favorite textbooks. Exercise Physiology, Nutrition, Energy, and Human Performance, 8th edition by McArdle, Katch, and Katch. So in exercise, what was really cool, there was this one study that was done in runners, in like marathon runners, that even before exercise started. So it makes sense that cortisol will go up like during and certainly after exercise. But there was a study that was done measuring blood and probably salivary cortisol levels of these runners before they ran. So they're at the starting line of a marathon, and they're all pumped up. Their heart rate is high just because they're excited. It's early morning. They're ready to start running. Cortisol levels were high in these well-trained runners. So it says here, even during moderate physical activity, plasma cortisol concentration rises with prolonged duration. Data for cortisol turnover indicate that highly trained runners maintain a state of hypercortisolism that heightens before competition or intense training. Cortisol levels also remain elevated for up to 2 hours following physical activity. So then my question to that is, what is cortisol doing? Why is it going up even before the activity, right? Like as we described, it makes sense that it would be going up during and after because of the decrease in glucose.
Yep.
These are people like they're probably like carb loaded, right? Like they're ready for this run. The run hasn't even began. They have all the glycogen stores ready to go, and cortisol's already high. So that brings me to another point of what cortisol really is doing. So I've got my next textbook here. This is one that I taught from when I taught exercise physiology at the undergraduate level a couple of years ago. Exercise Physiology, Integrating Theory and Application by Kraemer, Fleck, and Deschenes. So in this one, it talks about some pretty amazing stuff, like some stuff that has not been connected or not given the attention that it deserves over the past couple of years. And this is like cutting edge research here that is being published in this textbook about the role of cortisol and its connection to beta endorphins. So the endorphin release. So there is a family of peptides, propionmelanocortin, or POMC, and it is connected. It's like this umbrella of peptides that is going to kind of dictate which hormones will be released. So cortisol being one of them. It's going to kind of direct adrenocorticotropin hormone, and it's also going to direct the endorphin release, right? And so with this, let's see here, I'm going to read a little bit of this part to you guys as well. So exercise stress stimulates release of POMC, beta endorphin, and adrenocorticotropin hormone into circulation. So it is going to kind of dictate these actions. Exercise-induced increases in these hormones have been observed with endurance exercise and resistance exercise, where higher values are observed with greater metabolic intensity type exercise, which could be due to the need for analgesia, so that pain relief, and metabolic control of glucose with intense exercise. So like the body knows that it's getting geared up for some intense exercise, and it's preparing the brain for that sort of that pain relief, that runner's high, even in advance before the run has even began. And it's also getting the body ready to control the glucose metabolism so that way the runners can run effectively. So it talks about the runner's high and how that's connected to that endorphin response, and some pretty amazing stuff. So before that, the connection of POMC to adrenocorticotropin hormone to beta endorphins, it was really difficult for researchers to connect the dots between, or I guess, quantify the runner's high. Like researchers have given out surveys, and they're like trying to collect data on like mood after running a long distance, and a lot of that data is really scattered, right? And it's not telling like it's not what's the word, like definitive on quantifying a runner's high. And so like a lot of the data on runner's high is just real scattered. This was one of the first to quantify definitively what's happening here. And it's this connection of POMC kind of dictating both cortisol release and the endorphin response. So we see even before activity, there's starting to be justification and understanding about why cortisol would be going up. So basically, cortisol is doing so much more than we previously thought that it would. This guy from Blue Star Nutraceuticals, the problem with this video that he's doing, this is like superficial knowledge. So does running contribute towards increasing cortisol? Yeah. And so he's got like, it's like he's giving you like 1% truth and like 99% false. And that's where it's dangerous. And so anyway, yeah, running results in increase in cortisol. Yep. But then the connection that cardio makes you fat, we're calling it, you know?
So what are we saying about this? What is
verdict?
This? Bro science bullshit is what it is.
That's the verdict.
That's the verdict.
So speaking of high intensity exercise and that beta endorphin response and all that stuff that I was just kind of geeking out and reading textbooks for you guys for, Adam and I would like to now turn it over to the topic of the week, which is the 2018 fitness trends published by the ACSM's Health and Fitness Journal.
Let me see this.
Yep.
I want to speak on this. So this cover right here, there's some cool things. So
yeah,
this is the ACSM's Health and Fitness Journal, highly respected published journal. Highly, highly respected. I mean, ACSM has, one of the top, if not, I don't know, maybe tied with the NSCA. As far as like certifications can go to be a trainer, to be a fitness professional on any level. I've taken the ACSM certification, and it's not easy. It's pretty tough. So cool things that happened here.
Where was that photo taken, Adam?
You know what? That's besides the point. Cooler things happen. So the photo was taken here at HIITBox, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The best thing is this is Trevor's photo. Trevor is now a published photographer in a huge magazine.
Yeah.
So that's massive. His name is in here on like the front page. I feel like it's like a really expensive comic book. I don't want to bend the pages.
Yeah. I know, we got to get like those like clear sleeves.
Yeah. So yeah, right here. So it says Dr. Trevor Binion right here.
Yeah, if you go to the inside cover there, little shout out that tells you my photography website. Super cool that he got to be on here. So yeah, we're going to go over the fitness trends of 2018.
And
number one.
The number one trend is no, for me, it was no surprise. And it wasn't because before I started my gym, I was very diligent in finding out why I wanted to name my gym HIITBox. And obviously HIIT is, it stands for high intensity interval training. And I knew there was something to this. Like I personally used it. I know it works. There's so much studying that's going on with what high intensity interval training is and how it works. And I knew this wasn't going to be a fad, but more of like a trend. So the number one fitness trend right now for 2018 is high intensity interval training. High intensity interval training is the best way to work out to hit legitimately all of your fitness goals. Like you could say
it's dynamic. Yeah.
Lifting weights is the best way to get stronger.
Yeah.
And doing, running steady state cardio is maybe the best way to increase cardiovascular capacity, or, as a very generalized, but HIIT training is the best way to literally get every bit of anything you ever wanted out of being healthy and working out and shoving it together. and this also includes time management. Like, it's not just wanting to lose fat or get stronger or heart healthy. Like, just being able to not spend an hour and a half in the gym.
Excuse me.
You don't have to with HIIT training. You don't have to do these long bouts of workouts to get your results. It's,
Right.
20, 30 minutes, 3 days a week. And statistically, that's all you need.
So I think, yeah. So this podcast is called HIITCAST. Adam, your gym is called
HIIT Box. My classes are called HIIT Camp, HIIT
Yeah.
Yoga. Like,
I did my doctoral dissertation on high intensity interval training or sprint interval training, and compared the body composition outcomes of different models of training methods. So like 30 seconds of work versus 60 seconds of rest compared to 10 seconds of work and 20 seconds of rest. Compared those because 10 seconds of work is going to rely on primarily that phosphocreatine system for at least the first couple bouts, and the 30-second work to rest ratio, the 30 to 60 work to rest ratio, that's going to rely more on anaerobic glycolysis primarily. So I was comparing a lot of things, but originally, at its core, comparing the body composition outcomes, but also indirectly looking at if you train in a way that trains different metabolic systems, is that going to influence the body composition outcomes? So I have dedicated years and years and years of my life to this research study and to understanding high intensity interval training, and it's one that I'm convinced of, you're convinced of. We eat this stuff up,
and I think that with this, with HIIT training, being able to do, I tell people this all the time. They say, Adam, how come this class we're doing, a minute on, a minute off, and yesterday we did, a really hard bout of 30 seconds on, in a minute off, and then another day we'll do 2 minutes on and 1 minute off, and it's working. It's not just working, trying to burn fat, but it's working different energy systems that we utilize. Because I'm a big you can read right here. It says we create life athletes. And a life athlete's able to use all of these different energy systems, and we have to be proficient, or as proficient as possible, working all these energy systems. And the outcome of the way your body looks and the way it performs is significantly different too, than just doing one thing all the time. 4 sets of 10, 8 sets of 2, whatever. There's a lot of things that are happening in your body physiologically, with the way your body performs, the way it moves, and the way it looks. This is huge.
We're going to discuss this top 20 list. My first question to you, Adam, and this is one that I was asked this a couple of weeks ago, and it kind of stumped me a little bit.
Oh shit! Okay.
All right. So.
All right. Well, let's get serious.
Tabata training. Do you know what Tabata is?
Yep.
You familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Explain to our
20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 4 minutes.
And it's not just Tabata can be a variety of exercises.
Anything.
Yeah. So you could do jumping jacks.
I found a really great way to work on my cardiovascular capacity was Tabata training on an exercise bike. I'd put it at level 10 and I'd go 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off for 4 minutes, and it would just ruin my life. So
what I like about that is it's just the bike.
I was just on the bike.
But when I was first introduced to the idea of Tabata, it was in some group fitness class, and these people were kind of bending the rules
a little bit
of what high intensity interval training is. But I mean, still technically it was intervals of high intensity work. So you could do push-ups for 10 seconds or whatever, 20 seconds, and then rest for 10, and then jumping jacks for 20 seconds and rest for 10. You can mix up the style of training per interval.
Okay.
Is Tabata high intensity interval training?
I
know, right?
I mean, as a whole, I'd say yes. It's your heart rate. I mean, high intensity interval training is just where your heart rate is landing. Whether it's you're getting it up and bringing it all the way down, and you're kind of hanging out up here, whatever that is. And so that would be what Tabata is promoting. But I would say that most bouts of high intensity interval training tend to go for longer periods of time, 20, 30 minutes, not just 4 minutes and done. So I'd say in that aspect, no. but I don't know. I guess I kind of have to like break it down and really
I
think
know,
about
right?
that. 'Cause I guess it is. I mean, see, here's the thing with high intensity interval training is that it seems very complex, and it's really not.
Right.
That's why it's so beautiful. It's so simplistic. It's people ask me like, so Adam, what is the time on versus time off? And my answer is really whatever you want it to be. You can go a minute on, a minute. Like if you're very deconditioned, you might have to go a minute on, 3 minutes off before your body is ready to go again. But within 4 weeks, and maybe now you're at a minute on, a minute off because you have a better anaerobic threshold. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen there. So there's no magic number, and I think Tabata works well. I know after doing Tabata, because Tabata you're going all out. And I think with high intensity interval training, you're not going out all out 100% every single one, because in that 4 minutes, I mean, so I think it was the Chinese who used to do this with their speed skaters. They would do a Tabata style training on bikes, and they'd go 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off at a high level. And their coaches would say you have to go at 110% of maximal capacity, which I mean, I don't know how you
get that extra 10%.
Where that 10% comes from. I don't know what that looks like, but these guys were amazing, and that's exactly what they did. They went at 110% for 4 minutes, and when I went like that, I mean, I was done. There was no coming back for me after 4 minutes. I can go 20 minutes of high intensity, depending on where I'm bringing that intensity. Like Tabata is meant to bring your heart rate up in like the 85-90% as opposed to high intensity. I don't know that you're holding it in that 90-95 percentile. You're just not gonna do that for 30 minutes. Like inevitably, your fight or flight system is gonna kick in and be like, "Look, bro, you're gonna fucking die soon. So you better chill out."
So for me, like I was torn when I was asked that question.
I'm just trying to like in my head work through this. Like it's got to be Tabata. Your heart rate is. You're literally hanging – like you're not going to go below 85%. You're probably going to knock on the door at 95% for 4 minutes as opposed to high intensity. You have an actual, geez Louise, recovery portion to this where you can kind of take a second and go, okay, let me get a breather. And you don't have that. After a couple bouts of Tabata, like there's no recovery.
Yeah.
Like there's not. You just gut through. It might as well. It should just be like 4 minutes of giving her hell the whole way. Like 4 minutes of balls out training, go. Because 20 seconds isn't shit.
So I've got a kind of a loose definition, and the thing is about like high intensity interval training, there's really no standardized definition.
Nope.
And that's why when I did my research study, my dissertation, it was cool to compare two different models of sprint interval training to see if there was one that is superior. To help to define something that can be like the definitive definition. So this is a study by pretty much like when I think of sprint interval training or high intensity interval training, there's one author that I think of first, Martin Gabala. And this is by Gabala and Jonathan Little. And I met Dr. Little, I think in 2013. Cool dude. So anyway, they wrote this article here, and it says, low volume, high intensity interval training is characterized by brief, repeated bursts of vigorous exercise, interspersed with periods of rest or low-intensity exercise for recovery. A common model employed in many high-intensity interval training studies is the Wingate test, which consists of a 30-second, all-out cycling effort against a standardized resistance. In a typical training session, subjects complete 4 to 6 Wingate tests, interspersed with 4 minutes of rest. So that's a long period of rest for 30 seconds of work. Let's see.
I mean, they're really bringing themselves almost down to, I don't know if you would say it's a resting heart rate, but it's damn close.
Right. 4 minutes of rest for a total of 2 to 3 minutes of maximal exercise spread over a 15 to 30 minute period. As little as 6 sessions of this low volume, high intensity interval training protocol over 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks is such a short period of time. And they're already seeing statistical stuff. Over 2 weeks is a potent stimulus to increase muscle oxidative and glucose transport capacities. But little is known about the effect of this type of training on common health status markers linked to disease risk. This was published in 2010. In the past,
7 years ago.
In the past 7 years, much more has been researched and known about the health markers. So this is as as documented of a definition of high intensity interval training as I can find.
And it was still pretty broad.
Yeah, really vague. And they're saying basically it's high intensity stuff, all out effort with rest periods. So I
But
guess
it's all, and I think where people get HIIT training mixed up is
Excuse me.
the actual effort portion.
Absolutely.
Like what we have to remember is it's all out effort. It's as hard as you can possibly go for a time frame. It is 110%. So I guess that goes back to the Tabata thing. Like, damn, Tabata is it.
Yeah, Tabata. I guess like by this
definition, it fall maybe so. Maybe we can just look at HIIT as a. So this is okay. This is how I'll define it. HIIT is an umbrella, and that's why like a lot of times you say sprint interval, and I don't agree with sprint interval being HIIT. I think HIIT is an umbrella, and you can have sprint interval training. You could have a Tabata style. You could do. I mean, hell, technically, CrossFit could be considered a form of HIIT training.
Absolutely.
Like there's a lot. HIIT is just like this umbrella.
Yeah.
That a lot of modalities of exercise kind of falls under.
So, I like that. I can stand by that. The thing where so first of all, coming back to this definition, have you ever like experienced or participated in a Wingate test?
No,
dude. This is all right. So guys, I taught exercise physiology lab, and the purpose of the lab was to like teach students how to conduct these protocols and tests so they could do research. And we had a Wingate bike. We had a couple Wingate bikes. These bikes are brutal. We would save the Wingate lab for the end of the semester because we would have
just ruin people's lives.
Students would drop out. Like they would be like, "Nope, changing my degree, changing my
whole major. I'm going into drama. Screw this."
Like, all right, the Wingate test. Let me put this into perspective here, because he cites the Wingate test as part of the definition of high intensity interval training. So Wingate test, we would have. My favorite way to do this was on a magnetically braked bike, compared to like the manual Wingate. Manual Wingates suck, but magnetically braked bike, the back tire had this brake that was automated by a computer. We plug the bike into a computer, and we would set the protocol into the software, and we'd have the students warm up and get as high of an RPM as possible on this bike with very little resistance, just enough to allow them to get those RPMs as high as they could. And then the software would count down, and then it would apply the brake to that back tire. And the brake was 8.5, and there was like different intensities for different fitness levels, but I want to say it was we did 8.5% of their body weight was in. It cites here a standardized resistance, so 8.5% of their body weight, and it would brake according to that. So it would the students then would be producing watts, and so they would be producing the energy there. And the bike would just provide the resistance. And so we could measure their watt output. We could measure their peak wattage, which would be so cool. I mean, as a for any power athlete, to know the peak number of watts that you could produce is one of the most quantifiable and measurable like jackpots that you could then translate into your training. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. It would basically be measuring their maximal anaerobic capacity. But the test is 30 seconds. So as soon as that brake hits, it feels like, so at first you're just pedaling, the RPMs are as high as they can go, and then that brake hits, and it feels like you are pedaling through quicksand.
Yeah.
And for 30,
it's the longest 30 seconds of your life. It is so long. In your head, you're just kind of like, this has been 4 minutes, bro. You told me 30 seconds to make me do it. There's no way. Everybody's behind that computer laughing at me because I'm 3 minutes deep and I'm dying, and you're like, you're 12 seconds in. You're like, what?
Not even halfway.
What? Are you kidding me? I want to die.
You're like, when I'm in the lab with these students, like I'm yelling, we're all yelling and cheering them on. We got the one student just huffing and puffing on this bike. You can see in real time their face goes from like nice flesh colors to like pale white.
Just done.
We're yelling and screaming their name, cheering them on, and then when I'm like, yeah, you're halfway there, that's when they look at me like they're going to kill me. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Only halfway?
Shut up.
So the Wingate, and also like after that test, their legs don't even work anymore. I would always, as the instructor, as the teacher, assign like, 2 students to like help them up off the bike and then like walk them over to the treadmill and just like slowly walk it off. That way we have some muscle pump.
And there's no slowly walking up. You're like, just let me sit here. My legs are trash. Like there's so much blood in my legs right now.
And all the students that would just sit there, if they just sat down or laid down after a Wingate test,
done.
They would throw up.
You're throwing up. Your
like,
blood's gonna pool and you're done.
What's happening here, and like the reason why you like throw up after like a really high intensity workout is your body's producing a lot of acid. And it's more acid than your body can handle. You will quickly produce more acid than your blood buffer, than your buffering capacities can buffer. And your body will start to freak out because a lot of enzymes are pH sensitive and stuff like that. So your body will not be able to function the way that it likes to when the pH balances are out of balance. So the body starts to freak out. And one of the quickest ways that it likes to resolve this issue to get rid of acid is to get rid of stomach acid. But that does not help the fact that
that doesn't help what's going on in the muscle at
your
all.
Your legs are still producing a lot of lactate and a lot of hydronium ion. And so, like, since this is a 30-second test, and like 30 seconds is at about the point where you are at peak anaerobic glycolysis reliance. In other words, that is peak lactate production. So there's a lot of acid. Basically, this test is testing how much acid your legs or your body can produce.
Take until you just
everything about this test is so brutal. So the students that would just sit down and lay down, like they would be producing so much more acid than they can handle, and it's not going anywhere. It's not clearing out as fast as it should, and so they're throwing up. But so the solution to that, and if you guys are like if you have experienced this where you work out so hard that you throw up, one thing that you can do, and one thing that I did when I was teaching the students in the lab, just have them walk it off.
Yeah.
I would put them on the treadmill, have them walk it off, because that muscle pump, and what muscle pump is when the muscles contract and they push against blood vessels to support the blood vessels returning to the heart, the action against gravity. So anyways, it's just helping to clear
get it
that
out
lactate
of there instead
out
of
of
just sitting in there.
Yeah. And so if we can clear the acids out as effective as possible just by simply walking it off on the treadmill, then there's you'll be more successful at not puking.
Yeah, you're going to feel better a lot quicker.
So basically, like this test, it would wipe students out. Just like the 130 seconds, they'd be like passed out. They'd go home and take a nap for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
These guys did 4 to 6 bouts of Wingate tests. Like that is brutal.
Yeah.
And they would separate it by 4 minutes of rest. So the couple of things here. Basically, it's the same exercise that's being repeated. That's different than Tabata. Another thing is it's not just the same exercise.
A lot of times Tabata is the same exercise.
Then the definition of Tabata is just the time?
Yeah, Tabata is just time. It's a 20 to 10 ratio for 4 minutes. Now, what's going on between 20 and 10? I mean, unless you're looking to just, I don't know, honestly, for 4 minutes. I mean, they've got to have something going on. I'm trying to justify it in my head, but it's usually on the same movement. You know, you're sitting on a rower or a bench press, and you're just working and then rest and then work and then rest.
I guess like my exposure to Tabata has been like all just varying exercises throughout. But like you said, it could be bench press, it could be rowing, it could be whatever. The thing that's also consistent about this is that it's on a bike. So when I did my research study on sprint interval training, I also did it on a bike, because if you are working someone at an all-out capacity,
yeah, you want them sitting.
They are going to fall over.
Yeah, you can't do it with like an actual sprint. And I know, because my first time I trained with you, you had me go to a park and sprint as hard as I possibly could, 110%. And by my, I don't know, if it was my 8th or 9th or 10th sprint, like I couldn't keep my leg. I just fell. I just ate shit.
Your legs won't work.
Yeah, 20 yards in, they just like couldn't keep up. My body went over top, and it was just like, that's it. That's all you're doing today.
Yeah.
Like, sorry about your luck, Adam. Have fun in the dirt.
So like
roll around the dirt.
On a bike, you're not gonna. I mean, you're seated. So
you're
not gonna
stuck
fall
on
over.
there. You can't just fall and go, oh, I'm hurt. I can't finish out. Like, no, you're on a bike. You got to finish out.
So that's something that, to me, like from a research perspective, and that's what these guys are citing, like almost all the studies have been on bikes. They've almost all been on Wingate bikes specifically, doing the Wingate protocol. Almost all the research conducted on sprint interval training is done on a bike. And so to me, that is part of just like by association how I define it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was asked about Tabata and the varying styles of exercise that can be fit into the mold of high intensity work in intervals, I was like, I guess, like technically, but
yeah, like for here we use a plethora of different exercises, and we do it, I guess, a HIIT style of workout with your heart rate coming up, heart rate coming down for different periods of time to work different energy systems within the body to make you just more proficient. So HIIT training is the end all be all. If you're not HIIT training, you're wasting your life.
It's the number one trend for 2018. That's pretty cool.
Best way to work out. Number 2, group training.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's at HIITBox, it's what we do, and I'm a big believer, and I'm glad this is number 2. And let me tell you why I'm glad this is number 2 is we see a lot of results at my gym. Now, this isn't me tooting my horn that like I've created the best gym and the best fitness methodology.
But let's
be
real. This is the best gym.
It is. I mean, I got a pretty badass gym. But what's more badass than my gym and what's more badass than my HIIT style is my members.
Yeah.
The group training portion of it. Like
the community.
The community. People come back and people get results because the members of this gym are so amazing. And they believe in each other and they root each other on and they push each other forward for 1 or 2 more reps and they keep each other going that last 5 or 10 seconds. And that's exactly what you need to break through mental barriers to know that you can do this, you do deserve this, and you can achieve the goals you want to. In that group setting, that's what happens. It's not me or any of the coaches that I have here that are, exactly getting people there. It's the fact that we've built a culture and a community here in that group sense is just awesome. So if you have a chance to get into a group setting while you're doing HIIT training, I mean, you've kind of hit the jackpot there.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That reminds me of a study I did, I think it was like 2013.
How many studies have you done in your life, bro? Like, I feel like you're like my grandpa that's got like a 17,000 war stories.
Well, like when
Trevor walked uphill both ways with no shoes doing studies.
Oh, man, I love it.
He's that guy. He's that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I've done a lot. I need to update my CV because I've done a lot more since I last wrote it. But I did a study, I think it was like 2013 or maybe 14, on the social cognitive theory, which is like a behavior change theory, in its role in CrossFit. And like at that time, CrossFit was like blowing up. It was just so crazy trendy. And what you described about the benefits of group training, I think that's what has made CrossFit what it is today.
Yeah.
That community feel. And like seeing people doing the same thing that you're doing and seeing them have results is, according to the social cognitive theory, this like results by proxy, one of the more motivating behavior changes that someone could experience. So there's some powerful stuff happening with group training, that community feel.
In to kind of piggyback off that, I mean, I used the word HIIT in the name HIITBox because I loved what it was and I loved the results it produced. But you can see that the second word, the box, was I directly took that from CrossFit. I loved going into a CrossFit. They called their gyms boxes, and they were families. Everybody knew each other. It was just the most amazing feeling. And I was like, this is what a gym should be. And so I kind of put those two words together because having that box feeling is that's a lot of times where results are made on a lot of levels. Let's go to the third one. Wearable technology. Trevor's got one on. The old Fitbits and iWatches. The old accountability factor that sits on your wrist.
So, what do you... the old accountability factor. Mm-hmm. So, there are some good things, absolutely, with wearable technology. I think wearable technology is getting cooler and cooler because technology is getting cooler and cooler every year.
Mm-hmm. You know what I don't like?
Tell me.
I don't like when I get on my Fitbit in the morning. And I actually stopped wearing it for a little bit. I'm not wearing it right now because I get up in the morning and it's like, hey, Adam, did you sleep between these 4 hours? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, did you wake up for this during this hour? Yeah, I did. And it's like, you slept shitty. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. I was the one doing it. I don't need this stupid watch to tell me I had shitty sleep. I know I had shitty sleep and I don't need you mouthing off to me. Now, if I hear you tell me one more time today that I need to get up and be more active, I'm going to lose my mind because I slept like shit, Fitbit. Give me throw me a bone.
Yeah. So I have some issues with this one.
There's a lot of quirks.
There are. Yeah. And I mean, recently I've read a couple of articles about the concerns with wearable technology, how it and I don't think it's like anything bad. There's some articles saying like wearable technologies are the downfall of the fitness
devil
industry. Yeah. Like it's creating these like misleading perceptions of people like achieving fitness goals before they actually have.
Fitbits are the North Korea of technology. Whoa.
And oh my goodness, excuse me. So I don't think they're like that bad. If anything, like even if they're inaccurate, what they're doing is the bigger purpose is they're promoting physical activity, and they're promoting physical activity like champions.
Yes, they're promoting like I'm not into a calories in versus calories out to lose weight.
Right.
But what I do give to all the clients here is I say we're going to eat X amount of calories. Like this is what your body needs to function if you're training here 3 days a week. What I want you to do is I want to make sure that on a daily basis your output of calories is at this, because people want to see that scale move.
Yeah.
And it just brings cognitive behavior patterns to say, if Adam says I need to my total daily energy expenditure needs to be 2,000 calories a day, and I'm only hitting 1,600, am I really as active as I think I am? Because a lot of times people think their activity level is the same as like the way Al Bundy played football, right? Like he scored 4 touchdowns in one game, and he was this all-star. And a lot of people think that I'm so active. I mean, how many times have you had a client that was like, I'm real active, I'm this, and then when we prescribe, a caloric intake, we really can only believe what you tell us.
Yeah.
There's only so much formula we can use. And then when you find out, you're like, oh, you actually sit behind a desk for 14 hours a day, and then you walk to your car and then sit in your car, and then you walk into your house and you sit some more. Mrs. Jones, you're actually not as active as you thought you were. So we either need to find more activity for you, or you just can't eat this much.
Yeah.
That's just the way that works. So I like that it brought that out a bit. It brings out the ability to say, maybe you're not what you thought you were. Or maybe you need to eat more because you're way more active than you think you are.
So also the wearable technologies, there's the consumer level wearable technologies, and there's like the research grade wearable technologies, which are like super crazy expensive, and they're not at all practical for consumer availability. And being on the research side of the other side of it, being on the research side, I've been able to play around and had access to some of these like super fancy
having
ones.
a big old like CPAP mask while you're walking at the gym isn't cool.
Yeah. That's one. I mean, we have done studies with portable oxygen analyzers and stuff like that, and that stuff is so rad. But like on a smaller scale, there's these other devices that measure like steps and caloric expenditure, or they estimate caloric expenditure if they're not analyzing oxygen. But one of the things this was like 2 years ago in Boston. I was at the ACSM National Conference and hanging out with a friend, and I can't remember her name right now, but she's this lady from...
She's not a friend.
I met her for the first time then. She works for Panasonic, and they were creating these research level wearable technologies for us for some of the research we were doing. And she was talking to us about, we were just shooting the breeze, how Fitbit, some of the early iterations of what Fitbit had produced, people would wear the watch on their left hand, and they'd be brushing their teeth in the morning with their right hand, and just the act of brushing their teeth, just the act of brushing their teeth. Yeah, it was like you just had like 50 steps because it was picking up on the
jarring motion.
Yeah, the movement, the vibration throughout the body, and just like that was calculating steps. So there was things that were creating this inaccuracy in the data collection. So I feel like things have gotten better with Fitbit and those other wearables. I keep saying Fitbit, that's just because that's the one I have, but I'm sure there's like 100 others. Yeah. But the thing that bugs me about it, when I go backpacking, when I carry heavy stuff, my watch does not know that is increasing my caloric output. All it's detecting is my cadence, my steps when I swing my arm, and my heart rate. So caloric expenditure is a function of body surface area, so your body mass and your height. And so if you are adding more to your body mass, if I'm carrying like a 40-pound backpack and I'm hiking, then even if I'm just standing still, that extra mass, just holding it, is burning more calories than without it. But my Fitbit doesn't know that I'm adding 40 pounds in my backpack. Mm-hmm. And so it is not accurate in that way. Like there are things like that it's like if
you're going to get you close. Yeah, it's going to get you close. It'll give you an idea, but it's not perfect.
And if you're lifting weights, then it's not accurately picking up on how many calories you're burning during that workout. And that's what bugs me.
And you've probably done more. Just rest assured that if it says 250, you've probably
Yeah.
You've done more. I don't know what that would be, but depending on the weight you used and the intensity you worked at, you did more.
But I totally dig wearable technology. Like I'm wearing one
Yeah.
right now. Like I think this is a cool trend. Something for us to keep our eyes peeled.
It's gonna get better. Things
It's
like
totally gonna get
VR and all that. It's just
Oh
only
yeah,
gonna
it's gonna
better.
get fancier.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Body weight
go-
training.
yeah.
Man, Herschel Walker.
Who's that guy?
Really?
Yeah. Who's Herschel? Sounds.
I hope one of the people that are watching here can maybe chime in and put who Herschel Walker is down
Okay.
here. I'll let you Google it.
I am gonna
He's an
Google it.
ex-NFL pro.
Herschel.
And he was an MMA fighter at like 45 years old. Walker. Look him up. Yep, there he is. There he is, right there. Yeah.
He's 55.
Yeah, and he was an MMA fighter.
Dude, the name Herschel does not sound like anyone that would be 55 right now.
Yep. Yep. He was amazing. He was a running back. And he was a tall running back. He was 6'1". So, yeah.
So did he like reinvent bodyweight exercises?
No, I mean, he was just a strong running back. I mean,
Oh.
this dude would just run dudes over. And there was a reporter one time that said, you're so strong. How do you work out? He was like, I don't do anything but bodyweight exercise. I don't lift weights. I do push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, bodyweight squats. And he was always in such great shape and great condition. And he was so strong that people were like, what? And he's kind of like when people are like, oh, if you're doing, 100 push-ups a day, you can't get that strong. He's the guy who like, Herschel Walker did. And I'm like, yo, Herschel Walker was an anomaly, was like 98% type 2 muscle fibers also. So there's that. Like he was strictly type 2s, and that's what made him so damn strong. So, but he swore by it. And, we're in a day and age where time is so of the essence. And sometimes we don't have 15, 20 minutes to drive to the gym, an hour to work out, 15, 20 minutes back, childcare, all this good stuff. Sometimes just your living room,
Totally.
a rug, a yoga mat, a box is what you have. And you can see phenomenal results. And again, we can go back to what number 1 is on there, HIIT training with just body weight exercises.
Totally.
With sprints, with jump squats. I mean, there's a ton of things you could do, but there's so much you can do to get into really great shape using just your body weight.
So that reminds me. So I got a little free tip for you guys. This is in all my training programs. What I do is I ask people, if they like to work out at the gym or work out at home, what sort of accessibility do they have to fitness, and what time they like to exercise. So then when I'm creating the program for them, let's say someone likes to work out in the mornings. So I'm like, all right, in the morning time, go to the gym, do your thing, and here's what you do, blah, blah, blah. But then throughout the day, I want you to work on this. But if they work out in the morning, then at nighttime, I have them do just some body weight stuff before they go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they work out in the evening, then I have them do some body weight stuff first thing in the morning before they hop in the shower. So and this is just like a constant thing, assuming that the client is physically able to do this. Push-ups and squats. Dude, so simple, so valuable.
Even just sit-ups, like anything just to get you get moving. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
So
how long do you usually prescribe for that? Like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes?
I just tell them to do a set to failure. So crank out a set to failure of push-ups, a set to failure of body weight squats, and usually that's like
5 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Tops.
Totally tops.
You could do it while you're waiting for your coffee to brew.
Yeah. And it's just like 5 minutes, and it's such an awesome part of the day to really keep your fitness a priority for your body.
Yeah, I agree. All right, number 5 on here. I don't think we're gonna get through all 20. We'll probably get through the top
let's skip
5
around here.
Okay.
So number 5 is strength training. Anything to say on that one, Adam?
Strength training is great. Do it.
It is.
Just do it.
So number 6, though.
I like number 6 though.
Let's talk about this one.
Educated, certified, and experienced fitness professionals. Holy shit! There's a lot of these. Everybody is like a fitness professional.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna, so for me, I don't know that there's an amount of licensures. Am I saying that right? Did I fuck that up?
I don't know. Finish your sentence. Let me see.
I don't know if there's enough any one person, whether they have 1 certification or 10 certifications, whether or no certifications, or whatever college degree they have. I don't know that alone makes you a professional. I really don't.
Right.
Because I think there's a fine amount of licenses or certifications in actual practical time in the field that makes you a professional. Time doing it. If you became like after your bachelor's degree, and what's your bachelor's in?
Exercise science.
So in exercise science, when you finish your bachelor's degree, because you now have spent 4 years in college learning about it, were you a pro?
I was
probably not. You
young and dumb.
Yeah,
I was
you probably
so
had
naive.
any practical time. Like after
Yeah.
I got mine and I got my certifications. I mean, at the time I thought I was the man. I was like, I
Right.
have the certs and I have this stuff.
I
but
totally thought
I
was
had
the
no
coolest dude.
practical time. I had nobody showing results under me. I had none of that. Like,
Yep.
there's a certain amount of results you need to show. You need to show that people believe in what you do. You need to show that you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
So I think I don't know that I can definitively say this makes you a pro or this many years in it. I would consider myself a professional in what I do because I've been doing this for 15 years. I have a ton of success stories. I've seen a lot of fitness trends. I've done a lot of guinea pigging. Yeah, I can say it, guinea pigging.
Sure.
On myself with clients. And I would say that I don't know that I could say that somebody with 4 certifications that's been doing this for 6 months is a fitness professional in my book. I just don't know that because
Right.
a lot of like your research, actually your research comes around the same way as mine. I think a lot of times when you were doing, and even now when you do research, you're sitting there and something kind of makes you think, and you're like, how does it? How would these two things work, or how would they not work together? And then
Yeah.
you begin to look into in research, and you start coming up with your own thesis and your own hypothesis of, I feel like this is what would happen.
Mhm.
And sometimes there hasn't been research done on it yet. And
Yeah.
you're kind of reading research on both things that you're looking, and you're trying to create this hypothesis of, I think this would happen. I think this is how it would go, especially in fitness, because there's just so many variables of things within fitness that we just stumbled across, and we haven't gotten that deep in yet to even do research on.
The field of exercise science
Is so vast.
and it's such a young field.
Yeah.
Like compared to biology or medicine, like some of those old like Greek philosophers were like some of the first researchers in medicine and biology.
Yeah.
But like the true field of exercise science started in like I think the late 1800s, like early 1900s. Like this is such a young field of study.
Yeah, it for sure is. And so I think that there's a lot to going into being a fitness professional. And I think when you're looking for a fitness professional, there's some of the first telltale signs are they certified?
Yeah.
Or do they have a degree or whatever the case is? Can you find people that are following them? People that have success stories, people that are in success stories of what you're looking for. Like if the trainer you're looking at has helped 8 people achieve a 600-pound plus back squat, and you're trying to lose 30 pounds, that may not be the first person you're choosing, and they probably could do what you want them to. That's just not their niche market, right? There's a lot of things like that you have to look into first. You can't trust. And I can tell you firsthand, when I went on my own and I started promoting what I was doing with my online, out of 100, so right now I have a little over 100 online clients. I think 4 or 5 asked me anything about my certifications at
Really?
all. Yeah.
Is that because the other like 95 or whatever like knew you?
No, a lot of these people I was on Facebook, and luckily I am certified. And luckily I have been doing this, and I have a degree, and so luckily that was there. And at the beginning, I didn't have results before and after pictures. I was a district manager. Like I didn't work one-on-one with people at the time. I hadn't worked one-on-one with people for a few years at that point. So, I didn't have a lot of before and after results pictures that were current. I had some from the past when I was a trainer, but there was a lot of belief in me at that point, and as grateful as I am for that, and humbled as I am, like a little part of me was a little bit scared too. That I was like, wow, there's a lot of people like this guy that we just watched this video that people will believe in.
Right.
And he's just pitching, not good. I wouldn't consider him a fitness professional because of that. Because a professional wouldn't take, like you said, 1% of it and make it seem like the 99%. That a pro wouldn't do that.
And I think the problem is, and I guess like one of the reasons why we started this podcast, why we're passionate about this kind of stuff, is because we want to be the lighthouse for people who are seeking
advice and
recommendations that is accurate, because there is so much bro science out there. And you brought up a whole bunch of good points, but one of them is what is the deciding factor that would make someone want to hire that person as a trainer. You know, some of the things that I've seen is like if that trainer guy has a killer six pack, they'd be like, oh man,
I want that.
You must know everything about fitness, and you that must mean you're like the best trainer in the world. And I think, man, like
finding somebody that looks the way or performs the way isn't always the way.
Oh,
and I'm going to give you the best example ever right here. I hired Trevor on to do all my nutrition. Trevor's not a strongman.
Nope.
Trevor doesn't deadlift 600 pounds. Trevor doesn't give a damn how much weight he can lift over his head. None of that. He just knows how to make people do it. So it's not just because somebody looks the way you want them to look. And the fitness competitors have really stole the show with this of, look at how great I look. I'll make you look this good too.
Yeah.
And that's not true. They know how to make themselves look that good. They may not know how to make others. They just kind of cookie cutter it out, and they're not following any principle, any roadmap.
Such deep stuff.
You know, and that's very scary. And I knew signing on with you that wasn't the case. Like, and I obviously I had sit with you. We had talked before. I had heard I agreed with. I have a fitness background in the way I think about eating and fitness in general is the same way that you feel, and that was a connection. You know, I was like, that made sense to me. And you work with athletes, and so I was like, I'm an athlete. I need someone who works with athletes. I don't, Jenny Craig does food plans, but I wouldn't go to Jenny Craig to get stronger.
Yeah, right.
That's not just food plans are not food plans. Results are not results, and trainers are not trainers. So you have to find somebody who fits all that criteria. On top of, who do you click with? I don't give a shit how smart they are, how many licenses they have or certifications. Like, if you don't click with this person, you are not going to be motivated to do anything with or that this person wants you to do. Dude. If this person doesn't have massive amounts of empathy for why you haven't succeeded in the past, why are you with them?
Preach it, man.
If this person doesn't have massive amounts of gratitude that you chose them, and if they're the way they look at it is, I'm the trainer, I know best, that's why, they don't have massive amounts of gratitude. You should fire that asshole. Like, your trainer should look at you and go, I get it. I totally get it. And I can empathize with it. And because I can, here's how we're going to attack this with a game plan, and here's how we're going to overcome it. Not, well, you need to, or you should, or you could. And don't get me wrong. Like, there's times I've had people ask me, like, Adam, how do you stay, when you had to lose all your weight, how did you stay motivated? Like, my answer is, like, how could I not? I'll die. Right? There's no second chance for me, but that's just not how everybody thinks. And your coach shouldn't have that mentality. If you don't do this, you'll die sooner. Wow, that sounds like the person I want to give a couple $100, of my dollars to. That's just not the way it works. Like, so I think there's a lot of things that really play into this. How do you find your perfect trainer?
So, well, man, this is so good. I have so many things I want to say about this. And I know we have a dedicated episode coming up exactly about this topic. So I kind of want to, part of me wants to hold back. Part of me is like, oh, you said something that's so cool. Dude, first of all, like, everything you just said was awesome. So two things, though, that I want to say. First, I have a question. Well, second, I have a question from Mimi. And first, I taught exercise physiology at the undergraduate level. And now I teach exercise physiology at the graduate level. Mm-hmm.
Damn, he's a bad dude.
I had students, like, get this, I had students at the undergraduate level who were studying exercise science because they were passionate about it, and they knew that this was something that they loved, and they wanted to help people, to make them be better people. Mm-hmm. I had students that were overweight, really overweight. The fitness industry is a very, what's the word? Just like, it can be real shallow.
It's a cold place.
And what you just said is so, like, I loved these students. I had compassion for all of them, and I wanted all of them to succeed. For me, whether or not that trainer, whether or not that professional is super thin or super muscular or overweight, it's not about, that is not a reflection of how smart they are. And to me, like, when people are like, oh yeah, I just want the trainer who looks really good. I mean, that is such a superficial and shallow. Man, now I sound like I'm getting offensive to people that are like that. But that is like that.
No, because there's a lot of people that are in
be-
great shape, like Stan Efferding. Stan Efferding, he's on YouTube, world's strongest powerlifter and bodybuilder. He's in phenomenal shape.
Mhm.
Dude is smart as shit though too.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like, yeah, you can have someone who looks great or someone who doesn't, but either way,
You
that's
can't
not
see
a
the brain.
reflection. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a reflection of their brain and how smart they are and how
their
willing and
ability.
able to help you. And the things that to me make a good trainer is they got to have that education. They got to be accurate. Like fundamentally, if they're telling you something that's inaccurate, then that's bad. That could lead towards all sorts of bad things. So that has to be there. But also, they have to be good at coaching you. And that's where everything you just said, like being able to help you and guide you and sacrifice for you and all that good stuff. Like coaching there are so many skills, like people skills. It's not just about the exercise science, but it's about the art of communicating with people.
You can't rely on your IQ as a trainer.
Yeah.
Your IQ is almost secondary as a trainer. Your EQ is what's more important. Like nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and that especially holds true here with this because fitness and weight loss and hitting goals has so many emotional attachments to it that my clients want to know that I actually give a shit about why they want to do it and what they want to do more so than what I know. Because what I know can all be found on Google. What I know can all be found in these little books, and my clients can save their money and read it themselves. They can spend, how much is this book?
Like $80.
So $80, and you could know a lot of what we already know.
Yeah.
Right? Between these two books together, $200, and you could not only help yourself, but hundreds of other people. But my clients don't want to do that. They want to know that they have somebody that's going to take them under their wing and say, I got you.
Plus, like, after reading like a half a page.
They want to blow your face off.
Yeah, people will be like,
"This is the most boring shit ever."
Like, for me, like, I eat that stuff up. But yeah, not all people do.
No, I don't even eat it up. I hate reading books like that, bro.
Oh man,
I hate it. Oh, I hate it. But it's just because that's not the best way I learn. Like, you like reading, like it's your
I dig it
thing, and that's just not mine.
All right, dude, I gotta read to you Mimi's question.
Okay.
First of all, Mimi, one of the coolest people I know.
Mimi, you're a rad person.
Super rad, and she is a registered dietitian.
Damn.
So she says, and by the way, so Mimi asked this on Instagram. So dudes. Follow me, follow Adam on Instagram, and we'll read your questions. All right, so she says, in the exercise and nutrition world, it appears as if anyone can be an expert. Someone who may not have a recognized certification can still offer life-changing advice. Very true. While some who do have a certification seem to have lost touch with the relatable communication component. Oh, I love that. And like, I am so guilty of that. Like sometimes I geek out on like these next level topics, and I'm like, wait, did that make
Nobody
any
fucking
sense?
cares. No, like nobody but you cares about that. Please make that easier for me to understand.
If an individual is looking to start their health journey, how should they navigate this confusing market? So to me, like that question is everyone not certified unworthy to give advice?
No.
Right.
No, I firmly think that anybody who, whether certified or not, like you can give life-changing advice about anything. There's a lot of people who never went to school for business or business management or finances, but they are million and billionaires because they knew how to do it. It made sense.
Right.
Like entrepreneurship is not a college course. Matter of fact, some of the best entrepreneurs out there failed high school.
Yeah.
And they could walk any one of these into any one of these Fortune 500 companies and talk these CEOs under the table because they get it. So that kind of goes with this 50-50 thing of, if they're giving truthful, any one of those people could go read this book. This is the book that you taught out of.
Yeah.
They could save their $120,000 and not learn from Trevor and just read this book themselves, right? And hold no degree, hold no certification, but hold the same amount of knowledge.
So I sort of agree. I mostly agree, but sort of don't.
Okay.
I think what we were talking about before, like it's the combination of accuracy and science, but
Mhm.
also the art of being a people person, of
Sure.
communicating, and that to me is coaching.
Sure.
So we could have
On top of the coaching, I'm saying just smarts. I was talking purely smarts.
we could have someone who didn't go to school for any of this stuff, who is not certified, and they could be an excellent coach because they can coach you through, they can motivate you, they can say the right words
Mm-hmm.
and give you the advice to help you be a better person.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
When it comes to providing the sport-specific training, the health-specific recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
the exercise prescriptions,
Mm-hmm.
that's where, and this kind of goes along with number 16 on this list,
Licensure.
for fitness professionals. What that means is like upping the regulations. This article, the ACSM article here, talks about how like you can't just go to like a physician or a nurse and who isn't like you can't just call yourself a physician or a nurse. You have to have a state license to be practicing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were saying like there's a trend where a lot of that is happening in exercise science and the fitness industry. So like there are certain things, and I would argue a lot of things in the fitness and nutrition industry where professional advice is what's going to give you the safe recommendation.
See, and I think that's where I would disagree a little bit.
I love
because so, and I'll ask you this way. So you have been done with college for how long now?
I graduated in May.
May. So June, July, August, September, October. So 6 months, give or take, 5-6 months.
Best 6 months of my life.
Okay. So since the day you graduated till now, have you learned anything new in exercise? This exercise?
Oh
field?
yeah.
Tons.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't go anywhere to learn it. You didn't go to a class to learn it. Where did you learn it?
I learned it from current peer-reviewed research articles.
Okay. So like ACSM's Health and Fitness
Yeah.
or something like that. So is it safe to say that anybody could still give the same professional advice you did if they just looked it up the same way you did? Because you have the word doctor in front of your name,
Mhm.
which you definitely earned. But during that time of becoming a doctor, maybe the advice you're giving somebody that you just learned 2 weeks ago, you didn't learn that while becoming a doctor.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot of doctors out there, medical doctors, that give shitty advice that are doctors because they don't keep up with what's currently going on. And I think that just because you went to school or got a certification, like when I got my certification, a lot of that, I look back on it now and I'm like, a lot of this is shit. Like it doesn't hold true because none of it's
Yeah.
been updated. And I think it's up to the fitness professional, like however we define that, to go out of their way and look at this new research, these peer reviewed, not just shit we read in Men's Health,
Yeah.
and decipher through that and say what is new and what's going on. Because how many doctors out there are still, prescribing and giving the same advice on things they learned 20 years ago? Tons. But they still have the word doctor in front of their name. And because of that,
Yeah.
that's what makes them reputable. And I don't think it does. And so I think just like how you said, there needs to be more licensure for even like at the trainer level. There needs to be more CEC, continuing education at the doctor level, saying you must
Absolutely.
keep up with what's going on. Because I myself have been to the doctor and they tell me stuff and I'm like, okay, I don't have near the amount of schooling you do, but I can tell you that's wrong.
Yeah.
New research says that's wrong, but they still keep with it because they're so romantic about what they either learned before or they're just too lazy to do any current research. So I don't know that I fully agree with because it says certified PT. I mean, you worked at the same place I worked
Yeah.
with a lot of certified personal trainers. And how many of those trainers did say stuff to you that you were like, that is totally wrong?
About all of them.
Yeah. And that's scary. And so they
It is.
have a certified license, like however you want to think about it, and they're still saying wrong stuff. And then how many people have you talked to? Like, I used to train at this gym called Classic Barbell, and there was guys in there that they were accountants by day. And they did so much research on their own. I'm like, bro, you know as much as I do about this. And in some subjects more because they just did so much research of their own and made the dots connect. And I'm like, you could give this advice.
But let me ask you here then. How do they know that it was correct research that they were reading? How do they know that let's say it was something like super deep, like that bro science bullshit segment we did earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like that dude probably like honestly believes he's correct.
Sure.
Because he did some superficial research and maybe another, deeper layer after that where he was connecting the dots about cortisol and stuff like that. And I'm sure on his own he has some conversations that would seem really deep to all sorts of people.
Sure.
So how do, like, if, like, the thing is, like, if somebody...
So I get where you're going.
Yeah, like, how would they know
I get where you're going, and I think that you never know. 60 years ago, we thought that smoking opened up the alveoli in the lung, and it was okay to do it during cardiovascular conditioning because it made it better. Now we know, like, ooh, that was all light. And these were doctors saying it.
Well, saying we never know equally then discredits everyone.
So what I'm saying, my point behind that is that we learn these things by going out of our way and learning these things.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't go out and do that, that's shame on you for your field.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what field, whether that's fitness or the oil field, like you need to stay up on what's currently going on.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe somebody hasn't read this book that had what we had in it, and they are truly saying it. But what if that person is a doctor just like you and hasn't read that and was like, actually, that totally makes sense for the human body because that's the way it works. I think it's safe to say that just because you have PhD or doctor in front of your name does not mean everybody knows the same shit.
That's very true.
Nobody does it. Now, if everybody was like, every doctor reads the same books for exercise science and every doctor does these same things, then yes. But your dissertation was totally different from however many people.
It was a unique study.
And so I think it'd be safe to say that because you have the name doctor in front of it. Now, if you had two of your colleagues next to you and they said, hey, we want to know what's going on with fat metabolism, all three of you guys gave a different opinion, but you're all three are doctors.
Right. And that's why, like...
So I don't know that certifications or licensures just make you accredited. What makes you an accredited source is how much time have you spent researching this? Like, that's why you boast about, like, I'm a fat metabolism, right? But if someone's like, hey, bro, so I want to know more about testosterone, you're going to be like, okay, I can give you the how it works in the body. I can tell you all that, but I don't know that I know all the latest, greatest research going on with it. Like, that may not be my niche. I have a buddy, though, who does. And I think that's where if you're a fitness professional in any way, you're a professional, and so that's what you do. You say, I don't know that much about it. Let me get you in touch with this person. You know what I mean? Like, if one of the people came into here and said, hey, Adam, I want to know about a yoga pose because I can do downward dog, does not mean I can do anything else. Like, that's not my forte. Like, I've seen it done, but I don't know. I mean, I could probably do it, but I couldn't coach you through it.
Teach me more of this
downward
dog.
I'm like, okay, I think it's this, So I just don't know that a certification or just any of those components are what make you a viable source alone for all information.
Absolutely. And that's why, like a doctor, like you said, like a PhD or even an MD or a DO, that doesn't mean they're like masters of every field of science. And so
very niche.
That's
like,
not what I'm
niche.
saying either. I think, man, there was a lot of stuff you said, and For
me, I think it just gives you a foundation, to go on. Like for you, if we both read a peer-reviewed study, I could read it and go, I get it, and you would too. But because you have conducted so many studies, you could go, hey, this is why that study may not be good, though.
Right.
Because they didn't do this, and their controls here, here, and here. Those aren't optimal controls for this, which I wouldn't know, and I'll give you that. Like I would not know that as near as much, but it's safe to say that I could learn it. I could learn what makes something because you learned it.
Yes.
I think if it can be learned, it can be learned.
Yeah, it can be learned. Oh man, like so many things about that though. Like I studied statistics. Like for instance, like yeah, I could like see through a study that had poor statistics because I studied statistics for like multiple years. Like anybody else could do that, and you don't necessarily need the structure of a formal education to do that, to get that.
It's probably the best way.
But yeah, like
the most
how
efficient.
How else are you going to sit down with a statistician for years and absorb, like transfer, like plug in like the matrix, like plug their brain into your brain and like download all their statistician info and homework and actually like studying it out and like applying it unless you go through that formal process like you're saying, like it could happen outside of the academic structure, but my reply is like, when would it ever?
I think it wouldn't because it is becoming less, but college is what we did. That's what you did. You went to high school and you went to college. Like, like the one thing that we are all as a society kind of predicated on is, what is your IQ? How well did you do in school?
Yeah.
And that isn't, and what we're seeing more and more of is that isn't a way to show that everybody is successful in their given job or what they do.
Absolutely.
And so for me, you're not going to like this, but for me, college is a sucker's bet. I if my kids didn't want to go to college, I'd say do not go. I think college for me was great for one thing, and that was meeting new people that could help me out later in life.
Yeah.
Because I firmly believe that anything that can be learned can be learned. That's just it, inside or out. It may not be the best way, the most proficient way, but it can be done. It very well can be done.
I don't necessarily disagree with there. I think education is valuable, but like for me, like what's funny is like I did my bachelor's and I loved it. I did my master's, I loved it, and I kept on like pursuing more education because one, like I just thought I needed to. I thought that was like the path that I needed to take in the field of exercise physiology.
You gotta be mega mind.
And yeah. And so I did my bachelor's, I did my master's, and I was like, well, next step, doctorate. And like I just kept on applying for school and enrolling in these next graduate programs, mostly because like I was like, well, I don't have like a bazillion-dollar job, so I think I need to apply for the next academic program.
Well, I'm pretty deep in now. I better keep going so I can find a job to pay this shit back.
But then what's funny is like halfway through my doctorate and on, I started my own business and started my own thing, my Fit and Phys, my fitness and physiology business, and like the end result of me getting my doctorate was I became an entrepreneur. Like, and like none of the steps necessary to become an entrepreneur cared about or even required any degree.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I have my degree, I feel like makes me a more valuable entrepreneur. Like, no, I didn't need that to be where I am with my business, but having it, I feel like is, oh man, like for me, it's such an important part of it.
It makes it such a part, but
yeah.
I think there's a part of it because I feel the same way.
Excuse me.
I feel like because I have a degree, it makes it so much more important than if somebody opened their own version of what HIITbox is with just a certification, right?
Yeah.
That's because I'm romantic about the time I spent getting that.
Yeah.
And I recognize that. And I think it's because you're romantic about doing 36 years of college
right.
and having $40 million in college debt, maybe. I don't know. So you're probably pretty romantic about that, you know? And I don't know that made you. I think you just have that. You just, like the way you learn, you have that. You have this thing about you because there's a million people out there that have degrees in business and marketing and they're shit. They know how to do it. Congratulations. But you have no idea how to apply it. And so now that degree just became irrelevant because you have a bunch of useless ass knowledge up there that you'll never go anywhere with.
And I think like another thing that kind of makes me not like defensive on this topic, but like I have a memory that was just so sore. It's such okay, so I worked in this gym. This was right after I got my bachelor's degree. And I, like the month that I graduated from college, I went out and got certified through the ACSM as a health fitness specialist.
That was a hard cert.
Yeah. And I was the only one in Eastern Idaho. You can do like the ACSM Pro Finder and see like who in your state has that certification. I did that and I looked it up and I was the only one in Eastern Idaho.
I'm the only one. Everybody's gonna want me.
That's what I thought. Like I was so naive and young
if
and
I
dumb.
get it, they will come.
Yeah, I thought like people would be lining up to sign up for personal training with me. Like I had no idea what I was getting myself into. This is my first like job in personal training. I got this certification, which to me was a high level certification. It was the highest I could obtain with the education level I had. And I was proud of that. But of course, like nobody knew what that was and nobody cared. So like nobody lined up. Like it was a rude awakening for me. But I remember like at this gym that I worked at, my boss, he was like, "Hey Trev, I want you to tell everyone in this gym that all the trainers are specialists." And I was like, "But they're not." And I am. And he was like, "Yeah, but like it'll be a good sales thing. And we should tell everyone that we're all specialists." Because specialist to him was this like abstract word. but to me, it was a absolute description of the credential that I had gained.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, to me, I was like, but if we do that, then that will discredit the hard work that I achieved compared to this dude who is a trainer here, who's not even certified, who didn't even graduate high school, but just has a rockin' six-pack. And so we're to, like, to me, I was like, that went against my integrity and the stuff that I had earned.
And I agree with that. Like, calling yourself, like, because I know some things that I guess could be, validated in the medical field, I cannot call myself a doctor.
Right.
Like, you can't call yourself a specific thing, but that doesn't mean you can't give good advice.
That is so true.
And I think that's different. Like, answering her question, anybody can give that advice if they have a valid answer. You cannot call yourself something if you are not that. I cannot call myself a doctor. I cannot call myself a mathematician. I can call myself a doctor over a mathematician any day of the week because I am like, I am dumb when it comes to math. Legitimately dumb when it comes to math. But calling yourself something you're not is way different than giving truthful advice. I could have just read something, God knows where, and I could give and it could be the same advice you would give, but I just read it. Mm-hmm. And that's okay to do. Now, mm-hmm. I think there is a line in the sand where things can be drawn. But in this such vast field, so many times, even people that are validated, what's funny is the advice you're giving today in 10 years is going to be utterly wrong. And we just know that.
Right.
Not all of it, but a good 25% minimum will be totally wrong and ass backwards. But as a doctor, you gave it. Mm-hmm. Because right now, that was the best advice possible.
Right.
And I think there's something to that. We have to keep that in mind, that it was wrong, not because it was intentionally wrong, because it was what you knew. And if somebody else gives wrong advice that's not intentionally wrong, it's just what they knew, that doesn't make them any worse right now than it would make you worse 10 years from now or 20 years from now when your advice is wrong.
See, the thing
because
about...
it wasn't knowingly wrong.
So I think what... You brought up a good point there, that truth is unknown, right?
Yeah.
So truth is unknown. We could be as close to truth as we can possibly be, but really research can only disprove something. I can't ever prove that something is and forever will be that way, because mm-hmm. tomorrow something about it could change.
Yep.
And it may not apply to every single person that is and ever will be alive on the planet. Like, there's no way I can provide that absolute proof. But what I can absolutely do is disprove something. So in research, we're always seeking that truth, but we can never be truly definitive in claiming that is truth. And so instead, what I think it is, instead of me saying to a client, this is the truth about exercise physiology, or this is the truth about how your body operates.
Right now.
It's not even that. It's just what I'm promising, what I'm delivering is I am providing the most evidence-based training program.
Okay.
I am providing the most current and evidence-based and research-based training.
Could you, and I was just going to bring that up, could you truthfully say everything that you're doing right now is the exact most current? So there's nobody else like that you look up to that does fat metabolism research that is more current than you that might have a different opinion.
Wait, say that question again.
So you're saying, like, I'm delivering the most current. Is there a chance, though, that maybe there's a doctor in fat metabolism like you that you look up to that's been doing this for mm-hmm. so long and is doing research, like that's what they do on a daily basis, that you're not giving the most current, that they're giving the most current? Like, what you're giving right now is actually backdated. It's not the most current. You know what I mean?
Well, like, every day studies are getting published. So for what I'm doing...
It's the most current that you can find?
It's the most current that I can provide.
Okay. And it's because you're finding it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding it, or, like, I'm literally conducting it.
Yeah, or you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of why I like, going back to her question, like, these are things you're finding. It wasn't given to you by a certain person. You didn't have to go to this certain class to go do these things to find this research. Like, the research you find is literally found on your computer. You're just taking time to do it, or in something you subscribe to, or
yeah, like peer-reviewed databases are not publicly available. So there's that. So it's not just that anyone could find it on their computer.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a lot of peer-reviewed studies that are out there, though.
There are, free access articles. And
That other people just publish about or they put in their stuff or whatever.
So
or even on YouTube, people like you that just make videos about stuff like that just to inform the public.
I think that really anyone can be an effective coach.
Yes, I would agree.
I think that being an effective coach is an art, and there are certain skills, there's management and leadership skills associated with effective coaching that can be learned. I think that some of the best coaches have kind of natural abilities in coaching.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure.
And that is independent of their education status.
I'd 100% agree.
So I think for that, like Mimi's question could, dude, by the way, I love this discussion we're having right now. This is so good. Mimi's question, some who may not have a recognized certification can still offer life-changing advice, while some who do have a certification seem to have lost touch with the relatable communication component. I think like good consumer advice is to get a second opinion all the time. You know, like someone
interview people.
Yeah, like when you said like 5% of your clients asked you what's your education and certification status, like to me that is that's concerning. I want everyone to be able to feel comfortable asking their healthcare provider, their doctor, right? Their nurse, their personal trainer, like people they look up to for health and fitness related stuff.
Like, what is your background? I mean, think about it, like in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a pretty scary, I don't know if you guys remember Dr. Kevorkian?
Yeah.
There's some fucking scary doctors out there.
Right.
He was a doctor.
I think it is totally appropriate for a client or a patient to ask their health professional about their philosophies, about their background. And that shouldn't be an uncomfortable thing. Like I want all my clients to be able to ask, I invite them to ask me why and how, to challenge every recommendation and advice I give, because what I provide, like I said earlier, is evidence-based, it's research-based, I'm not making it up. It's here's the study, here's how, here's why. And I go out of my way to explain that in all the trainings I provide. And I invite them to challenge it on a deeper level, because I know that that's going to inspire the education and the behavior changes. And I want them to feel comfortable doing that. And I encourage that sort of questioning, not just among me, but other trainers and other healthcare professionals.
I agree. I think I want to leave the conversation then on the great words of Jay-Z.
Let's hear it, dude. These great words.
Jay-Z says, "Men lie, women lie, but numbers don't."
Whoa.
And I think that's totally applicable here.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got an opinion, but a study doesn't. Takes the opinion right out of it. This is what it is. Love it, hate it, like it or not, it is what it is. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And the stuff that we're giving out it's not our opinions. Like there might be some opinion stuff, like, I like this kind of protein better, or for me, like my pre-training meal always has blueberries in it because I like blueberries and I feel like they make me stronger. That's totally opinionated. But I'm also not giving that out as like this is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Like the rest of it is just numbers. What do the facts show? And that's it. Whether I like them or not, and I agree with them, like facts are facts.
Man, I have like so many more questions for you, but we are going to have a dedicated topic about this. Man, this was like such a good discussion, and like this isn't even like the main podcast, the main discussion of the podcast. Man, that's so good though. Like I seriously have so much stuff I want to keep talking about this, but I need to like hold back
for another episode.
Yes. Man, oh man, Mimi, you have like
triggered something.
Yeah, like the Pandora's box of awesome discussions here. So yeah, that's number 6 out of 20.
So that's what we got to today, because that's all.
This is probably going to be like a 2-parter podcast as it is. Yeah. Guys, so everybody go to search for the ACSM's Health and Fitness Journal, and then the 2018 Fitness Trends. The article that we are citing for this, where the fitness trends are published, is a free article. So the journal itself, this issue costs money. There's other articles published in this issue, and those are paid. But this particular issue has been made free by the ACSM. They just want to make sure that everyone has access to it. So check it out. Read up on these fitness trends, and I encourage you guys to check it out and to explore these fitness trends and to let us know your opinions. Like, do you agree? Do you disagree that that these trends are worthy of the 2018 top 20 trends? Do you have any concerns with them? Do you have any maybe deeper questions about how to apply them? Let us know your questions.
God, why is keto not on here?
Dude, I know why
Legit.
keto's not on here.
It's a trend. It is trending right now.
It's a fad. And okay, let me just scroll up here. I love this. Like page, what is this? Like the second page of this article.
Where's the gas for me to throw?
So I love this article. This issue defines trend versus fad. I love it that they did this. So a trend, a general development or change in a situation or in the way that people are behaving. That's powerful.
Okay.
A fad, a fashion that is taken up with great enthusiasm for a brief period.
Define brief.
However long keto's been a thing.
You're going to define it off of that.
So guys, Adam, if they want to ask you deeper questions about the 2018 fitness trends, where do they reach you on social media?
So you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Both of them just type in at HIITBoxCO, HIITBoxCO. You can find me on Snapchat at Geiger Strength. I love being on Snapchat. Snapchat's my new
You
joint.
rocking the Snapchats?
I'm all over Snapchat right now. It's hard to get followers on Snapchat. Damn you, Snapchat. It makes it hard.
Yeah.
It makes it hard. I got to whore myself out on Facebook to get followers on
that's
there.
funny.
And Instagram's even harder. Like I'm gonna have to.
Excuse me.
I know how I'm gonna get more followers on there. I'm gonna have to get 6-pack abs.
Yeah, 6-pack
show
abs.
a little underbutt. Little underbutt there. That'll give me followers.
Yeah, that's the Instagram game.
Yep. What about you, Trevor? Where do they find you at?
All right, guys. You can find me on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, at Fit and Fizz, and that's FITNPHYS, which is also my website. Go to fitandfizz.training, and you can check out all of my rocking training programs.
My website, I forgot.
Hit
Find
it.
me at www.hitboxcolorado.com. I got a pretty cool blog on there.
Mhm.
I post all the YouTube videos on there, so if you ever want to watch the YouTube version and see what kind of dumb shit we're doing while we're recording this. Not
Dude.
Trevor's actually pretty chill. He just kind of hangs out with me. I'm antsy. I'm always doing some dumb shit. So
And dude, if people want to go to your website, what kind of cool merch or products could they purchase on your site?
you can purchase a gym membership.
Rock on. Oh yeah,
for
like,
sure.
if you guys are in the Denver area, the coolest gym you should be training at.
You can purchase
Hitbox.
that there. You can get our online program purchase there also.
Mhm.
We don't do the shirts or anything on there. The shirts I sell through like Facebook and out of the back of my trunk like old rap CDs.
Yep. He's got a hard shell suitcase full of t-shirts.
Just pops up and I'll just hang down like this,
Yeah.
slang them out of there for the cops get me.
And you guys can go to fitandfizz.training where I have digital training programs for fitness, nutrition, and fitness plus nutrition, as well as ebooks, which are on the way, and online courses. And so, guys, yeah. Adam and I want you guys to check out this stuff. Go to our sites, check out our programs.
Go to his Fit and Fizz photo page because mostly just because my photo's on there. And it's
Yeah,
he
Adam-
takes really good athlete
So
photos.
yeah, my photography page is fitandfizz.photos. And yeah, you'll see Adam on the cover on my landing page. But so if you guys want to keep these podcasts going, one way you can support us is to go to these sites, go to our sites, and purchase our training programs. Doing that kind of stuff is what keeps the lights on and the
Podcast coming. I can't pay my phone bill to record this stuff if I don't sell these things. So don't shortchange it. That's it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. And
Hope you guys have an amazing week.
we'll catch you guys next week.
Boom. Fuck, that was long, bro.
Yeah, that's a two-parter. That is a two-parter.
Bro, hour and 50 minutes.
I have an hour 59. I bet that one's like 2 hours.
Fuck my life. That's way too long.